Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome actor, author, entrepreneur, and philanthropist, Hill Harper.
Hey everybody. Hello. You know, it's a pleasure to be here. We don't have a ton of time, and I really am the person that's between you and lunch. So we will go quickly, and we have a lot to cover. So do me a favor, take out your cell phones real quick. Do this as quick as you can, and open up your email and put yourself in as the recipient of this email. And right on there, let me make sure I don't hurt myself jumping down here. And write on your email to yourself in the subject line, Detroit Goals and Dreams. Detroit Goals and Dreams. Okay? Now, in the body of the email, I want you to write your goals and dreams for the city of Detroit. Sky's the limit, could be anything. Your goals and dreams for the city of Detroit. Sky's the limit, could be anything. What you want to see. What dreams and goals you have for this amazing city. Sky's the limit, could be anything. So your goals and dreams for Detroit. Now, I'm going to jump in real quick on what I want to talk about, which is dissecting a quote. I don't know most of you here, and you don't know me probably either. And so I went to Harvard Law School, and at Harvard Law School was my first connective tissue to this city. I ended up meeting two people my first day at Harvard Law School that have had a great impact on my life, and they both were two brothers at Harvard Law School, and I went to Brown undergrad, and I was about 21. I go to Harvard Law School straight out, and first day of class, I meet a guy named Brian Mathis, who's from Grand Rapids, went to the University of Michigan, and he and I become good friends. And he has all these friends from Michigan. The other guy I met was Barack Obama, who was there as well. And he and I become good friends. And Brian has all these friends from Detroit. And he starts talking to me about Detroit and how great Detroit is. I was born in Iowa, so I'm familiar with the Midwest, and my mother's from South Carolina. And so I started to develop an affinity for Detroit because of the people I met through Brian. He and I became roommates. And then the final year at Harvard Law School, he invites another friend from Detroit to become a roommate because we had a third room. And it was this guy, Charles Boyd, who's a plastic surgeon. He was in Harvard Medical School, and he and I become good friends. And then Brian goes on to marry this beautiful woman named Carla Diggs, who's the daughter of Judge Diggs Taylor. And I meet more people from Detroit: Randy Washington, Swan Loomis, Amir Loomis, and I meet more people. And I meet my father becomes friends, and he's friends with an old auto exec named Phil Saunders, and then Elliott Hall. And I start meeting all these people from Detroit, even though I never really spent any time in Detroit. But the people were wonderful. And so fast forward a number of years later, just like any great love story, there's a pain and pleasure relationship with this beautiful city. I come here on September 10th, 2001, to do a screen test with Eminem for the movie 8 Mile. I was doing a really popular play in New York at the time, and the director had come seeing the show, and he talked to me. He said, "I want you to be the lead opposite Eminem in this movie." It wasn't called 8 Mile at that time. It was called something else. And then, we want you to do this movie. I signed the deal to do the film. Had to come to Detroit just to do a chemistry read, sort of work with Eminem, and we're going to, make this movie. And then I get up in the morning. I'm ready. I'm so focused, and the phone rings in my hotel, and it says, "Hey, the screen test is postponed." I'm like, well, why? He said, "Well, what do you mean why?" I said, well, "Yeah, why?" He said, "Turn on the TV," and it was September 11th. And right then, obviously, if you remember where you were, certainly I remember where I was. I was right here in Detroit. Everything shifted, certainly for the film, and a lot of people's perspectives. Fear quotients went up, and I ended up driving back to Los Angeles in a rented car because all the planes were grounded. And if you saw 8 Mile, you know I'm not in it, so you know how that story goes. So So watch this. I didn't love Detroit for a minute. I didn't like it. So I published my first book called Letters to a Young Brother, Manifest Your Destiny. Thank you. And it just happened to win the American Library Association Award Best Book for Young Adults in the year of 2007. And I come back to Detroit to do a book signing. I get the biggest crowd I've ever gotten. It was about 2,000 people outside of a bookstore. And I realized at that point there were so many people, and I met so many wonderful people, that 9/11 wasn't my Detroit experience. What my Detroit experience was the people that I knew and had met before and after. And then I started falling in love with the city again, and I started spending more time here, meeting more people. And then fast forward to about 2012, 2013, I get asked to do another movie here called Parts Per Billion. Rosario Dawson was producing it. She was in a movie I did called He Got Game. She says, Hill, come to Detroit, do this movie. I come to Detroit. Shows you how policy impacts decisions and investment. Lo and behold, since there was a tax credit here that some brilliant politicians got rid of, claiming they were giving tax breaks to Hollywood liberals, not the actual fact that you're creating jobs right here in the city, and a new industry was truly growing here. A new industry was truly growing. I came here to do a movie, had a great experience, met more wonderful people. Came back to do another movie because the tax credit was working. Met more great people, and I said, wow, I really love this city. So I decided I would stay and start to learn more and meet more people and invest, because there's so many wonderful people here. There were people who are interested in social justice, people who are creative, people here who wanted to see communities get better, wanted to see the world get better, wanted to actually radiate what's great about this city, which ultimately is just how it started for me, the people. Some of the best people in the world are here. And that really resonated with me. And so I decided to look into coffee. You think that's odd, don't you? Well, see, I thought coffee was a great commodity for positive social change because it could be a job catalyst. And so I was testing my theory. I invested in a few coffee companies, and then I got a call about the roasting plant in downtown Detroit. I'd invested in the roasting plant corporate, and corporate called me, the president of the company called me, and he said, hey, Hill, there's an opportunity to buy the roasting plant in downtown Detroit. Are you interested? And it was interesting that I'd already done so many things in Detroit, and he had no idea, so I bought roasting plant. I felt like I could create jobs for young people, and it was a perfect way to train up people. Coffee is this wonderful 360 thing that we can talk about. You import it from historically and traditionally poor communities, black and brown communities around the world. So if you actually impact them positively, you could have this 360 impact in positive ways from the farm to the filter. So that's one thing. And then there was an opportunity to purchase the Fisher Mansion in Boston Edison. So I decided to do that. Now, everybody told me not to do it. They said, don't buy a 20,000 square foot, 100-year-old house that's basically falling apart. Don't do it. I did it, and I probably shouldn't have done it, but that's the whole thing. It's beautiful. Thank you. It is beautiful, and we're working hard on it. I had to remove, I think it was 110,000 linear feet of asbestos. Woo! That was hard on my back, let me tell you. It wasn't easy. But needless to say, investing in Detroit is something that is very personal to me and very important. There's only one reason why I do it. It's because I love the people. The people of Detroit are its greatest asset, and one thing I've started to notice, having been here and working with different people from businesses to the nonprofit sector, philanthropists, to entrepreneurs, is that oftentimes Detroit's greatest asset is ignored in its investment. We focus on, what about this building, or what about this, or what about this area, or this core, or this, but it's about the people. And so there's one thing I want to double down on is what's next, and it's the future. And so really quickly, in about 8 minutes, we're going to do a little Q&A, but in about 8 minutes, I'm going to break down a quote, kind of Harvard Law School style, because the one thing they taught you at Harvard Law School is how to be a good critical thinker, how to break things down. And it's my favorite quote about the future. And this is what I want to focus on when we think about the future of Detroit, because what's happened. Where we're at is where we're at. And so all of us here, whether you like it or not, every decision you made in your life up until now has led you to be in the exact same place right here in this Motor City Casino Conference Center at the exact same time with everybody else. Dr. King said we're all tied together in a single garment of mutual destiny. So your destiny is inextricably linked with mine, whether you like it or not, and mine with yours. And so if we can help each other rise up and do better, a rising tide will lift all ships. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is the future, and if anybody can tell me who said this quote without Googling it, I'll give you a prize. I don't know exactly what that prize is. On the one hand, it could be a brand new iPhone 11 with Morgan Freeman as the voice of Siri, or, yeah, nobody's got that. Or it could be a firm handshake or something in between. But here goes this quote: the future does not belong to those who are fearful of bold projects and new ideas, but rather the future belongs to those who can blend passion, reason, and courage into a personal commitment to the great ideals and enterprises of American society. Anybody know who said it? Any guys? Who? Hill Harper. Or what if I tell you, if you get it wrong, you owe me a brand new iPhone 11? No, Bobby Kennedy said that. Bobby Kennedy said the future does not belong to those who are fearful of bold projects and new ideas, but rather the future belongs to those who can blend passion, reason, and courage into a personal commitment to the great ideals and enterprise of American society. Let's break down the first half first. The future does not belong to those who are fearful of bold projects and new ideas. Simply put, the future does not belong to those who are afraid of innovation. The future does not belong to those who are afraid of actually trying to come up with brand new solutions to old big problems. The future does not belong to those people who are afraid. For me, fear stands for false evidence appearing real. If you ever saw a show I did for 9 years called CSI New York, you know I know something about evidence. I did 197 episodes where I was analyzing evidence. I could hold it up like that and make it look interesting. Fear is false evidence appearing real. There's so much fear in this city, I find, with so many people. Well, I don't go to this neighborhood, or I'm afraid to invest here, or I'm going to lose my money if I do that. And people feel stuck. They don't want to just go. People telling me not to buy the Fisher Mansion. What kind of sense does that make? Of course do it. Of course go for it. Of course try to make a difference. Of course make change. Go. Well, when I'm in bankruptcy court, you may not applaud. But go! The future does not belong to those who are fearful of bold projects, new ideas. Now let's take the next three words that I really love. But rather, the future belongs to those who can blend passion. Passion simply means energy. That's it. And I would suggest to you that many of us live our lives with a level of constant energy that's too low to actually make a difference. Physics tells us that if we want to move a mass that's stuck or that's in stasis, an equal or greater amount of energy is required to do it. So there's not enough energy in my pinky to move this podium, but if I take my foot and my whole body, I can move it. Right? And so if we're going to solve big problems here in this city, we need to up our amplitude of energy. We need to up our passion, up our energy. And remember, energy cannot be created or destroyed. You already have it. It's shareable. And so when you start talking a little louder, start walking a little louder, start pushing boundaries, it's okay. We need you to do that because it gives me permission to do that too. We just can't let bullies do it all the time or the people with the biggest checkbooks do it all the time. You got to push back, fight back, let them know, hey, you're either with me or against me, let's go, right? Too many times I see too much abdication in this city to people with big checkbooks. Happens too much. So, next word, reason. Simply put, reason is critical thinking skills. It's actually having a plan. Having a lot of energy is great, but if you don't actually have a plan that works, a blueprint, I believe we're all active architects for our own life. That means we're all active architects of this beautiful city. We are participating together as architects of this city, so therefore, we have to create a blueprint that works for everyone in the city. So, reason skills, critical thinking skills. The last and final word is probably my favorite word in the English language. If you know the etymology or the root of the word courage, or if you speak French, you know it's cour, and you know what cour means. It means heart. Courage is not the antithesis of fear. Courage is simply getting into your heart. What do you care about? What makes your heart beat a little faster? Whatever that issue is, whatever it is, I don't judge it. Go that direction. Fight that direction. Be that. And then apply those other two words that we just talked about to whatever's in your heart. What I care about doesn't have to be what you care about. And that's okay. But care about something. And then go and be innovative. And have a great plan. And don't let bullies win. So, all that's to say, take out your phone and your email again. Did you guys send the email or you just left it in a draft form? You sent it? Good. Pull it up again, because you've received it now. Pull it up. And I want you to hit reply. So you're going to reply to yourself. You understand what I'm saying? You're replying to yourself. And double it. Double your goals and dreams for Detroit. Double what you wrote. Has anybody got a question? Just double your goals and dreams. Just double them. Now, if you're a linear thinker, and let's say you put your goals and dreams of Detroit to have 5 more McDonald's here, double means to have 10. But if you're a nonlinear thinker, you can actually pivot and say, well, I want to take the profit from the 5 McDonald's and actually open up a health center or something. That's a good double too, right? It doesn't have to be a complete linear double. But double what you wrote. Does anybody have any questions about that? Any concerns? What about up on the balcony? Can you double? Everybody? What about the press? Press in the back? How come they always put the press in the back? I always think that's unfair. Okay, so we finished doubling, right? Did we? If you finish doubling, clap once. Oh my gosh. If you finish doubling, clap twice. If you finish doubling, clap 3 times. See, they got rhythm in Detroit. That's nice. You're much better with 3 than 1. That's good. So watch, I just did this as a simple exercise. A simple, very quick little exercise to suggest to you that we actually don't dream big enough. That we're not as expansive. When I asked you to do that quick little exercise at the beginning, I said, write out your goals and dreams for Detroit. Sky's the limit could be anything. I specifically repeated, sky's the limit could be anything about 4 or 5 times. And the reason why I did that is I wanted to just throw out something to you and prove a point about 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later. And that was, we can always dream bigger, and we have to. I gave you permission to double something that I said there was no limit to, and no one had a problem with it. No one said, hey, man, you told me sky's the limit. How can I double something where I've already gone this big? Point being, we have to push each other to go bigger. Dream as big as we can about this city. And then, as architects of the city, start to build a great city that's inclusive, a great city that works, a great city that provides a beacon of light that attracts people and investment, outside folks like me. I got attracted here, like I said, because of the people. So if you figure out ways to invest in the people and dream big enough about what their capacity is, we will win. All of us will win. Thank you very much.
Joining Hill Harper on stage for a conversation, please welcome anchor for WJBK-TV 2 at Fox, Huel Perkins.
Everybody, let's give Hill Harper another round of applause. Fantastic. Now, briefly, we are going to let it rip. You heard a lot of ideas here, but the point is to turn those ideas into reality, and we're going to, first of all, put him under the microscope. You said that the people brought you here. You said that you fell in love with this city, but you are a national star. You do projects all over the country, all over the world. How much time do you actually spend here in Detroit?
Well, let's break it down. I shoot my show, The Good Doctor, which comes on Monday nights at 10 o'clock on ABC. If you're not watching it, please DVR it. We just got named the #1 show in the world, by the way, which is an amazing honor. We shoot that show in Vancouver. So I'm in Vancouver a lot. My son is 4 years old, and he's in pre-K in New York. So I'm in New York a lot. And so it's kind of like a triangle. So I'm here a few times a month, depending. If there's, it just depends how much open time I have and what I can do. I've been doing a lot of work in Flint, actually, recently, around, obviously, the legal case. My mother's happy. I'm finally using my law degree in Flint, which is nice. So there's a lot of time. I would say on average 3-4 times a month, but sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's a lot longer. I was so blessed to be here for Thanksgiving. Got to spend it with so many wonderful people, and I was here for probably the longest stretch. It's been a while, like 7 days during the Thanksgiving holiday, which is a blessing.
You mentioned a son. You are a single father.
Yes.
Years ago, you made the decision to adopt a child.
4 years ago.
Why did you do that, and how has it changed your life?
Oh, come on. I mean, yeah, wow. I am a single adopted father. Someone got on my social media and told me that I'm like, the single men adopting children is like 0.001%, which is baffling to me because it's been the greatest blessing of my life. But ultimately, it happened very organically. It's a much longer story than any of you really want to hear. But the long and short of it is, I got a call about a woman who was homeless and had a 21-month-old daughter, and she did not have health care, prenatal care, and I was called to see if I could help her and just give her housing, give her something else, and we all got on the phone, and she didn't want the child to go to foster care, and God had a different message for me on the call, so I went from being a single guy with this beautiful loft in New York. Ooh, it was nice. Had the floating staircase with no railing, it was really nice. Yeah, not good for a 2-year-old, but it was nice. And then, so in 3 weeks, I'd never changed a diaper, and I was at a delivery room. So that's.
You were there when he came into the world.
Changed a lot of them now.
But I wonder, too, how your son will grow up compared to how you grew up. You grew up in Iowa, Midwestern state. Both of your parents were professionals. One a psychiatrist, I think, the other a physician.
You did your research.
You had a foundation that not everybody has. You had 2 professional parents who inspired you to go to Brown and then on to Harvard Law School, where you also got a master's in public administration. But when you graduated from Harvard Law School, I assume with a lot of debt, when you graduated from Harvard Law School and you told your mother and father, I want to be an actor, how did they react to that? How did you explain to them what they assumed you would be based on what you wanted to be? How did you reconcile that?
Well, for me, growing up, they always told me I could do anything, I could be anything. And so the beautiful thing about my parents is that, and I talk about this, there's a whole other talk I do about fear projection, and I write about it in my books, but I was so blessed that I didn't have parents that would project fear onto me. I believe some parents can oftentimes be the biggest dream killers of all because we love our kids so much. What we do is that we don't want them to get hurt or take a great deal of risk. And
we don't want them to be poor.
Well,
there are many actors who are poor.
But ultimately, that's the wrong quotient. What we want our kids to be is happy. It's not poor or rich, because money doesn't buy that, right? It's not poor or rich. Happiness is the key. And therefore, I believe, and this is I've had to do with my son, and it's been a test for me. I consciously do not project fear on my son. He may end up with a broken neck at some point. There was one time I say, hey man, that's really steep. Are you sure you want to do that? Or that's really high. Are you sure you want to do that? I consciously don't say, don't, stop, you can't. It's so limiting. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the film Free Solo. Has anybody seen Free Solo? If you haven't seen it, watch it, and you'll know what I'm talking about. There's this idea that we tend to limit ourselves so much because of so much projection from our circle, from social media, from people, fans, family, whoever, it doesn't matter, friends. My parents did not project fear onto me. I knew I could do anything, and therefore, being an actor, being a best-selling author, being an entrepreneur, a business owner, being a philanthropist, and also being a lawyer who works law. All of those things are possible, and particularly for our young people, because you've got to remember, young people today are going to live to be about 120 to 150. They could do 3 30-year careers plus have another 30 to study whatever they want. So it's a completely new generation, a completely new idea of thought. We can't project limit on anyone or anything.
By the same token, have you ever considered doing what your friend Barack Obama has done? Getting into politics, entering that field as well as being a philanthropist, actor, attorney. Have you considered that?
To me, it's about impact and legacy, ultimately, and legacy meaning impact that could be lasting. If there was an opportunity to do a role in the public sector where I felt like I could have a legacy-based impact, yes. I just think that so many politicians are career politicians, and it's really about special interests in so many ways, and I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in actually getting things done and actually making a difference, and if you're hamstrung in an office, if there's an opportunity to do something that could be meaningful and you control a budget and you actually could start to point money in different directions and have that positive impact, I would do that. But, I haven't wanted to do it yet, and I don't stop myself from doing things I want to do. So if I want to do it, I will.
Well, that's the question we all face. I have 2 sons. One went into communications, although I told him not to. The other went into engineering. The one in communications has a job, but the one in engineering seems to have a greater sense of possibility. So do you tell your children to go into fields where you know there is a demand, where you know there is money? Do you tell your children...
Don't even ask the question. You don't tell them anything.
You don't tell them anything?
No, you ask them questions. You say, what do you care about? What makes your heart beat faster? What are you interested in? Follow that. Whatever the answer is. If it's I love wine, go to Tuscany and step on some grapes. But learn Italian too. Learn it. Learn the craft. Study it. Learn it. Whatever the answer is, follow it. Why? Because you may discover something along that path that you were doing it for a different reason anyway. I used to love football, right? And I thought I was going to be an NFL player. We moved to California from Iowa, and I went to high school in California. I was all-state in California. I was a receiver. My goal was to go to Cal Berkeley and play. The coach from Cal at the time came. I had 3 touchdowns that game, threw 4 2-point conversion. I knew I was going to get a full ride to Cal. He called me the next day. He said, hey, we want you to come to Cal because we got you in, but we're not going to give you a full ride because half of the coaches think that you're too small to play Pac-10 football. And I was heartbroken. But sometimes rejection is God's protection. Why? Because I went to Brown, where the football players are smaller. And at Brown, I got introduced to things that I cared about so much more than football. I got introduced to acting. I got introduced to art and culture and politics. And that was more valuable than going to play Pac-10 football, right? So, but I didn't know that at the time, but I was following a passion that led me there. So what you do is you follow the passion and then be open to what beauty comes along that way. And that's what's happened. That's what's happened with the Fisher Mansion, for instance. When I purchased the Fisher Mansion, I thought I was just going to live there. But it's evolved into something much bigger and more important. I saw a documentary called The Art of the Steal, and it made me mad. It's another thing to watch. Made me mad. So I said, well, I'm going to do what I call a baby Black Barnes. You won't know what that is until you watch this, but I'm going to create literally a private art museum in the middle of a neighborhood where young people can come and learn art and have artists in residence stay in, and the artists in residence from around the world have to teach the kids when they come. The Fisher Mansion's perfect for that. And I'm going to use it for that. And I may live in it at some point, too. Who knows? But right now, it's going to be a cool art museum, an art incubation space where people are going to live and stay and grow. But I didn't buy it even thinking that. But it's evolved into that, and it's shown itself to be that. Best use. The best use of this city is, like I said, the people. Let's invest in the people. We will win if we invest in the people.
Ladies and gentlemen, Hill Harper.
Thank you so much for having me, you guys. Thank you so much.
You are always always welcome in Detroit.
Well, I live here.
Thank you.